Good evening. Welcome everybody to the Village of Weberville Council meeting on May 28th, 2024. Call to order, please. Roll call.
Shelford. Here. Stanfield. Here. Walter. Here. Hitchcock. Yeah. Shelby.
Here. Quorum is declared. And please stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda this evening. Now, I recommend to the council, we approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Shelford.
Yes.
Stanfield. Yes. Walter. Yes.
Shelby.
Yes. Okay. We're now open to public comment. Anybody would like to, does anybody have anything to say that's not on our agenda this evening? If not,
Maybe,
yeah,
yes.
more than welcome.
My name is Tom James Gatchuk, and we're James of our Builders. Can I get some more homes started in Withy Estates? And last time I was here a couple of weeks ago, there was some discussion about the road over there. I mentioned to the council, maybe Brad said it, Brad's not here, but so I'm not asking for anything other than, to open a discussion or something about Black Oak, maybe some possibilities about some road on that to be done. And then I brought up the tap-in fees, but for the properties as well. And I just wanted to bring up a couple of things in regards to that. The tap-in fees for like Mason is $4,800, and the city of DeWitt is $6,500. So when we were lowering them to the 7,500, which we did on a couple of them before, it wasn't like we were going down to way down below or anything. That's kind of what they were in those communities that I built in. And so it was brought up, we did them a couple of years ago, that 7,500 seemed fair. Again, I don't need or want to vote, I just wanted to bring that up again. Main objections I've gotten in with is for the community as a whole is Ingham County's taxes are high anyway. People don't know that, we should, because I have Ingham County as well. And then when you got the city and the extra 12 mills, and then of course we got the Ingham County drain assessments, I mean, it adds up a lot. So I'm just trying to get some more homes built so we can get some more tax base for the community. And at some point next week or whenever, just wanted to throw that out there. This gentleman was doing all your homework for the roads, if I remember correctly. Some of the discussions on that, so I mostly just came to listen about more of that kind of stuff as well. So.
And we do tonight, third on our agenda is a discussion on Black Oak Street and tap. So,
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
thank you, Tom. Anyone else? Okay. If not, we'll move on. Consent agenda. Recommend to the council that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, so roll call.
Shelby. Oh, Shelford.
Yes.
Stanfield. Yes. Walter. Yes. Shelby.
Yes. Okay, on to reports. First up is our attorney report, Mr. Scott Booth.
Last meeting, there was quite a bit of discussion about highway commercial one district billboard signs, whether or not special use permit is required, how our ordinance pulls all that together. And I have a memo here, it's prepared now. I'll pass it around to the council to review, but my opinion, and what I found through reading over the ordinance is that in fact special use permit is required. it's, the memo when I handed out breaks down how I get to that. But effectively, our local ordinance does define a billboard. So that's clear as to what the rules are to billboards or how we figure out whether or not something is a billboard. And we have special rules for the highway commercial area, and I think probably the best thing to do is to pass this out, and then you guys can review it, and then if you have any questions, you can contact me or get something set by the next meeting, but so I've got that, I'll pass it out here in just a moment, and then, I believe I heard Mr. Gutstock talk about the Black Oak Street. I do have a proposed resolution, for the street. Effectively, this village's, acceptance of the street formally, although probably by statute, we've already accepted it. 10 years has gone by since the day in which the plat was actually recorded with the Ingham County Register of Deeds. I'll pass this around as well. As far as, Eagle is concerned and what they've been looking at, I have not heard anything more from them. I did put a phone call into the DNR to check to see if there was any further criminal investigation or whatnot, and I have not heard anything of that matter. I received a phone call back. I know that the council wanted me to look into job descriptions and disciplinary forms for DPW. Unfortunately, I was not able to revise those to completion before today's meeting. I'd like to have it forthcoming at the next meeting. Other than that, that's about all I have at the moment. Questions?
Any questions from the council?
How are we doing that, with the Jamie Ward situation?
So June is the next scheduled time in which the parole agent is anticipating a show cause. Again, the show cause is just where the parole agent looks at the terms of probation, one of those terms being payment. If there has not been many payments made, parole will then motion the court and ask the judge to call Jamie to the court, ask why payments have not been made. What's her status, job status? As of today's date, I did not call parole before I came here, but I do have a working relationship with the Shiawassee County Parole, and they probably would have called me had payments been coming in. So at this point, I'm assuming no payments have been made. But we'll have June before us, and as soon as I get that date, they're gonna have to schedule it pretty soon here to get it on the books. I can relay it to you guys, and you'll know when that date and court will be added. So.
Thank you.
Okay. I did have a question on the billboard matter. So I did my own research and reading on the ordinance, and I think Scott and I are aligned with the special use permit. And I guess my question would be for both you and Chris, what would be the village's next steps from here? So it sounds like Mr. England was here, the request may have been made out of order. So would the next steps be then to communicate that a special use permit would then need to be filed?
I would agree with that. Yes, it's.
Okay.
Council have to set a public hearing and then we notice that hearing.
So then, can I expect that, Chris, you would presumably communicate that to
I think you
Mr.
should
England?
go with Scott.
Scott? Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, but doesn't he need to have, MDOT's approval first?
So that piece, if I may, there was a lot of talk about, well, it was the state of Michigan. I think Mr. English spoke about the part where it's, as long as there's a billboard permit in the state of Michigan, is that the piece?
Yeah, that's
So the way I view that, language in our ordinance, merely when that ordinance came to be in the village of Weberville, that was 2014 from what I see. So what I think that language is doing is it's just recognizing existing bill. It's not saying that upon someone's future approval, state approval of a billboard, it's not greenlighting that. It's just saying, look, if these billboards are placed on this ordinance here, we can't go tear it down. So that was, so to me, the state approval is inconsequential as to what you want, because state law on billboards, the highway act, states, and you pointed out as well, that a local ordinance can actually be more restrictive than what the highway act says,
Okay,
which ultimately gives you the power, the way you have your ordinances. We are more restrictive than the state of Michigan.
okay.
So going back, at that last meeting, I was concerned that if he had gotten the permit from the state of Michigan, we really didn't have a voice in the matter. That's not true. Upon further review, the village just had.
That's the way he led me to believe, and just my opinion, he led me to believe we really had nothing to say.
I think he said he said it pretty much like that. And in my memo, I touched on that very piece, that he was pretty adamant that the village is concerned, like this was just a
With
procedure.
irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I may, my interpretation of the state act is that it clearly spells out that municipalities are not just encouraged, but required to spell out ordinances for billboards. So it's, it's kind of on us, and that's why we have the ordinance, right?
Mhm.
So,
Is your opinion that the MDOT permit has to be in hand before the village can issue an approval? Or the other way around? This village approval before we go get MDOT?
I don't think there's a formal sequence that makes one way better than the other. However, probably if I was Mr. English, I'd probably still come to the local municipality first. In hopes of securing the MDOT permit. I'm not seeing anything that, because in theory, if Mr. English goes to the state, he gets the permit from the state, and then he comes here. It's not an automatic green light that I once thought. It's not the case.
well, it seems like that state act really delegates authority back to the municipality.
Mhm.
So I don't know why it would work in reverse if they would need state's approval before.
No,
Ultimately needs both approvals.
Right.
So either one can kill it, needs both to be correct.
yes, and that's why I'm saying if I was him, I'd probably go locally first. You gotta win over the locals first, anyway. Hey, I mean, you can do what you want at the time, right? Right.
Any,
I will say, sorry, so
go ahead.
from my perspective, we get a special use application for this. It will be a special use application that would pertain to the entire lot. So the question before council would be, can you have a billboard on this lot? And thus, the question of whether you want a billboard in the southeast corner of the lot near the highway is gonna be relevant to that. To the point where you may end up saying, we're gonna approve a special use permit for a billboard by the highway, not, not saying our recommendation is that, or that you guys would do that. What I'm saying is that becomes an open question here, because instead of talking about a specific sign in a specific location, we're not talking about a sign anywhere on this lot.
Well, and even beyond that, if the village were to approve a special use permit, then they're still bound by our signage ordinance, which restricts it to 32 square feet, and to go beyond that would require a variance, right?
The very variance he asked for last meeting, you guys did.
So the cart was a little bit before the horse.
Yes. And I'll take some responsibility for that, for catching that work.
That's all right. Okay. Any further questions for Scott? Seeing none, so engineer reports?
I
I guess the only thing I have to talk about tonight is, you know, there's a couple of different road projects that have been talked about over the last couple of months, besides the business park paving project. And those included, phase 2 of North Street, or phase 2 of Main Street, the north end of it. Gramer Road, we talked about options for doing things, and then Black Oak Street as well. We talked about, you know, what it might cost to cap that off finally. And we had, Jessica and I had some discussions with Caitlin at Plan Moran a couple weeks ago, and she had some concerns about budget for the Main Street project, because that was looking like maybe a $1.1 million project, of which was only being funded $285 by the Small Urban Grant Program. So I guess I just want to come to some kind of decision about, you know, what it is we're going to try to do, you know, and what time frame we're going to try to do it in. I think probably we need to have another discussion with Caitlin, because she's the one that knows the budgets and all that kind of thing. And so I suggested to her, she's going to come down and meet with Jessica next Monday, that I come down and we kind of firm up, you know, kind of our opinion on what we can afford to do when, and then come back with some kind of recommendation.
Okay. Yeah. And probably our discussion later this evening about Black Oak will frame and shape some of that decision. So. Okay.
Do we have an ETA on Highview Drive get started?
Still trying to get the contract all signed with the contractor, and he's been a little elusive, so still trying to nail him down.
Right. Any questions for Bruce? Seeing none. Advocate reports. Seeing none there as well. So on to new business. First up is the mobile truck launch. Chris, I'll give you the floor.
All right, I'm actually going to introduce Ethan Walthor from our office, who's going to run you guys through this review. I have 11 minutes, and we didn't get through it. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So we have reviewed the site plan that we received, 2524 M52 for the truck wash. The first point that I'd like to bring up is that we, through the Ingham County parcel, we discovered that technically the parcel is actually 2 parcels. So if they have not already been combined, they should be combined prior to the issuance of the building permit. In terms of dimensional requirements, it conforms to the zoning ordinance besides the minimum front yard setback. It's a legal nonconformity because it was created prior to the adoption of zoning, state of Michigan,
In the village.
in the village.
Doesn't date back.
But the Michigan zoning naming act is 2007.
Yeah, not that was. It's not surprising. Anyway.
For the landscaping requirements, there was a section 153.081.1B states that the applicant must provide new sidewalks along the entire road frontage of the property unless waived by the village council. That could be something that you guys can discuss and determine whether or not that should be required. Additionally, there should also be at least one landscape island that consists of at least 5% of the total parking area of the lot, and provides at least one tree within that parking lot. I believe on the site plan, we were suggesting that the one-way drive that goes through the middle might be a good opportunity for a landscape island, right?
Yeah, basically, I mean, our next comment, right, is that we don't really see the purpose of that. You guys can picture this right in the middle of the site here. This north-south, one-way truck drive seems, I don't know, not particularly useful, and creates a potential conflict with the way the parking's laid out. And takes away at least 3 truck parking spaces.
Yep.
So our suggestion is to remove that and then plant the one required tree in the new grass.
Is that part of the ordinance? We have to plant a tree?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's based on the size of the lot and in the HC district, the percentage is pretty low. And so the math comes out to a tree, which is, I know it seems sort of silly, but that's where it comes out.
I think it specifies that every landscape island has to have at least one, right?
Yeah. And the number of islands is one island based on the parking spaces they have. And so yes, it comes up to a tree. In other similar situations, we've required, I think up at say the marijuana store, it was like 15, right, trees that were required by that.
Okay, so it could be any type of tree, like a decorative small
Yeah.
tree?
Yeah, it could be an ornamental or, it could be a shade tree or frankly, it could be an evergreen if they want. Doesn't specify.
As long as it's hopefully not invasive.
Well, that's actually hopefully, yeah, it can't be invasive, you can't put a palm tree. It has to be native to Michigan.
Where, for the setback, what roadway would it be less than 20 feet?
Front, the actual existing structure is currently less than 50 feet from,
Oh, it's the existing
Existing,
structure, not the proposed structure.
which makes it illegal non.
You always measure like the closest building.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't really matter, the distance from the truck wash to 52 is not really relevant. It's the
Right.
truck wash to the back.
I thought it was gonna be like 22 feet from 96.
No,
That's why I was confused.
no, the gas canopy on the south side's not much more than that.
Yeah, no, that one's
Right.
another non.
There you go. That's what they're gonna do.
But yeah, then in addition to the landscape islands and the one access drive that we recommend be considered. Technically, they are out of compliance in terms of parking spaces, because of the size of the proposed truck wash being about 9,231 square feet in floor area. That would create a parking requirement of 62 spaces, which they obviously do not have. So we would recommend that the village council would waive these parking requirements because they are already proposing to add several more truck parking spaces. And we would feel that the requirement of 62 is a little bit excessive for the site and probably couldn't even fit 62 actual spaces on there.
This is one of those situations where the use of a building blows the parking requirement a little bit out of the water.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about truck wash, you need space. And so that's kicking up an excessive parking requirement. The village council has the ability to waive or alter parking requirements kind of at your discretion, and I think this is a good moment for it.
Does our ordinance delineate between a truck parking spot and a regular vehicle parking spot?
Yeah, it does not. So the truck parking would count, but even then, they're not gonna be able to fit 62.
Right. Well, I guess that's kind of my point is that, a truck parking spot is probably 3 or more vehicles, so I would say parking spot number is kind of irrelevant just based on the type of vehicle that typically occupies the lot.
I would agree.
They definitely need more time.
Yeah, there are 39 parking spaces, car and truck. I think it's 24 truck and 15 car. And that's not the new plan. It's less than that.
You don't need 62 spots, for cars to park at a truck lot.
It would be wonderful if we had 62 truck parking spaces.
Unless you say,
We think that we can get to about 27 if they get rid of that one-way aisle.
Because we could add probably at least 2 or 3 more spaces there.
And that would alleviate that heavy traffic there on 52.
Alleviate is too strong of a word, but it would help.
Cut down.
Yes.
It would cut down
It would
some.
reduce it, but it's.
there is the possibility I can see that, for truck staging, they say, hey, look, there's a truck wash. I've got 30
Yeah.
minutes. Let me go wash my truck while I wait.
Yes. It's definitely progress.
Yeah.
In addition to the parking and loading areas, there were no proposed changes to the trash receptacles or the signage with the site plan given. So If there's any sort of changes that are proposed for the signage, that will be through a separate application.
Well, there are two, but they're separate.
For the lighting requirements, the zoning ordinance, a maximum allowable light trespass on an adjacent property is no more than 1/2 of a foot candle. The photometric plan that they submitted shows that the maximum is 0.2, so they're in compliance with the zoning ordinance. Other than that, we just have our list of recommendations. The first point is that the parcels must be combined if they're not already. The second point is that the applicant should provide public sidewalks along the entire road frontage unless the village council decides to waive that. The applicant should submit a revised landscaping plan detailing the location and dimensions of at least one landscape island that complies with the zoning ordinance. The applicant must submit a revised site plan showing that the truck parking space closest to M52, which I realize I now forgot to bring that up. This one right here has a bit of a corner that's kind of cut off for some reason, and we recommend just kind of filling that in so you can make full use of the parking space, because if we kept the cut corner, it would kind of be shorter than a standard parking space. So we recommend that they rectify that. And additionally, we discussed the one-way traffic lane that we recommend be reconsidered. And then the final condition is that the applicant must talk to Jim Wright and acquire all necessary.
I think that before you guys make a motion, the discussion on the sidewalk would be appropriate. From our perspective, this is the type of situation where you guys have waived that requirement in the past, fairly commonly along Highview Drive. 4 or 5 times now, it's been saying we don't need a sidewalk on Highview Drive. It hasn't really come up a lot on M52, but there's no sidewalk at McDonald's. The village, I think, has a very strong interest in promoting walkability in the core of the village. Out here, where our big issue is truck traffic, it's a little different, especially with the highway. So I don't think we would have any objection with the village council waiving that requirement, but ultimately it's your call.
So what does the council think about sidewalks?
Yeah, not necessarily.
Do we really see people walking out
Yeah.
there?
And to go to them and say they have to and nobody else.
It'd be the only sidewalk out there.
Yeah.
Sidewalk they have to clear of snow.
I just don't feel that would be fair to them.
I agree.
Chris, I do have a question real quick.
Yeah.
This is just a site plan. Where are they planning on getting the water truck wash, and what are they going to do with the dirty water from the truck?
They need to coordinate with your office on that. Okay. And yours, I'm sure, as well. So actually, a village council condition to coordinate with DPW and the village engineer on water and sewer utilities.
Yep.
I think would be important.
A really good point.
So they basically want to use village water?
They already have our water there.
Yeah,
The gas station already uses our water.
Okay.
they'd be increasing their usage substantially.
Yeah.
They're not a new user in the system.
So I don't, off the top of my head, I'm not sure the size of the service line that provides water to their facility right now. And then of more concern is the wastewater.
Right.
They're going to have like a granite track or whatever most car washes have. That way, none of that stuff is entering our sewer system, and also grease and oil. That play havoc on our lagoon system.
And generally, those types of car washes are not self-sustained, but they recondition the water.
Recirculate or something, yeah.
That's not using 20,000 gallons a day. But that's an excellent point.
The questions we're gonna have to ask and make sure we have clarity.
It probably ought to be part of the approval is that there's sign off from our DPW on their water usage.
I think that makes sense.
So would we add that as a condition number 7?
Yes. Actually, we're also going to remove condition number 2. So it'll go back to being number 6 again.
Because their water usage can be calculated on whatever type of wash system they install. It's probably gonna be an engineered system, so they would have
you know, how many gallons per minute that system uses. I'm more concerned about wastewater.
Right.
Same. One suggestion I'd have with the sidewalk just being out there, and this is just for them, if they already have concrete guys there, to see if they can run a sidewalk to the property line between McDonald's and them, because there's like dirt paths through there where the truckers go to McDonald's, and it would probably look a lot nicer if it was concrete, safer too. Because
Oh, well, I don't disagree. Just genuine speculation on my point of view of, is that really the village's place? Or is that an issue between two private entities and
yeah, I mean,
their joint adjacent property?
yeah, I mean, I would just say just a suggestion. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying a requirement. I'm just saying it is gonna be, because if another fast food goes out there across the street, then you're gonna have a lot more walkability from that parking lot over there, which then you're translating through parking lot.
You guys could use your sidewalk requirement to require them to build one to their property line.
Mhm.
It would, there's two issues beyond that. One is that there's actually a strip of land owned by High Profile in between this and McDonald's. So now you put a property owner in there.
Yep.
But you could use your power of the zoning ordinance to require them to build a sidewalk, to say, we don't need it along to, where we need it is basically the truck parking area to McDonald's parking.
Mhm.
The problem is, the only thing you can require them to do right now is truck parking area to property line. And then someone else has to pick it up, and then someone else is actually, if it was McDonald's on the other side, there'd probably be a possibility of it happening. This seems more difficult with their property.
Right.
But I do agree that there actually is walking over to McDonald's. It would be nice to have a nice path. Sorry, everyone, I have to go.
Have a good
No problem.
night.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, because even if they agree to go to a certain point where there's ends, then you're gonna have to go to McDonald's, and if they don't agree, then you've got half of the sidewalk, and that just, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. I just, I wouldn't want to lose sight of the truck wash over that necessarily. right
Absolutely, I
now.
agree, because, you know, they're important to us. They're a business, we don't want to lose them.
Right. Okay. I know Chris is gone, but we saw Ethan. Are there any other questions regarding the recommendation for tonight's consideration? Is something that the council feels comfortable voting on this evening?
No.
No. Would you care to elaborate?
I don't think we have enough information. We're gonna need more information from DPW. Water and sewer.
Mhm.
Two parcels of land have got to be merged as one. That needs to happen first.
Right, so these recommendations, items 1 through 7, now 6 again, are basically saying the council will approve it if you meet these, and the right in number 7 is that they need to get approval from our DPW on their water usage and disposal plan. So the council could approve it tonight, and if upon further review with the DPW, that say this is unfeasible for our water infrastructure, then it would be nowhere.
They just, as long as we hold them accountable.
Right.
Don't,
Yeah, so if we were to approve tonight based on these recommendations, then it's not a guarantee to move forward, it's just saying we would love. But certain things need
This
to
has
happen.
to happen first.
They have to meet each step before it can even happen. The steps that are on that one page, is that they have, so the two parcels that are separate, they have to put them into one. If they don't,
I understand.
no, I know. And then they have to get with Ryan, and he's gonna explain, and if they don't agree to do that, then
It's a done deal.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have to meet all those steps before anything. They could say, well, I met 5 out of the 6, but you didn't meet the 6.
So we can choose to vote on this evening, yea or nay. We could table this discussion if we want more information.
I'm okay to vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the site plan for a mobile truck wash at the mobile station with the conditions stated and the review letter per McKenna.
Second.
Less item number 2.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
pardon
taking
me.
out item 2 and then
Let-
adding the DPW.
Less taking out for the sidewalk and adding in that they meet with DPW with Ryan and go over.
And Ethan, as you and Chris can help us with the verbiage on,
Yeah.
on that condition.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, motion by Lana, second by Sandra.
Yep.
Roll call, please.
Schulberg. Yes. Stanfield.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Schulte.
No. Okay. So Ethan, I'll leave it to you and Chris to coordinate with property owners. I'm sure they're going to be reaching out to you, Ryan, here at some point. We'll go from there. All right. Well, thank you. That brings us to item number 3, which, Ethan, you're welcome to hang around, but I don't think McKenna had anything to weigh in on Black Oak and Tappins, but you're more welcome to stay.
I guess it'll save you guys some money, right?
Well, thank you for coming and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Have a
Thanks so
good
much.
evening.
Okay, Black Oak Street and Tappins. So after some of our discussions over previous meetings, I think Bruce had looked into some issues that came to light. Scott reviewed that, I guess it looks like the village by default has taken ownership of Black Oak Street about 10 years ago, so. You know, Scott, I don't know if you want to speak on the resolution or if Bruce. I'll turn it over to either of you to kind of kick things off with what was found. I'll defer.
All right, so, Whitley Estates, that was the original name of it. Whitley? Whitley Estates, okay. And that was, mapped out, platted and all that back in 2005, I recall. July of 2005, the village of Weberville approved the plat. But that wasn't the only step back then. Back then, the village said, yes, we're okay with the estates. We're signing off on it. However, usually there's a subsequent step to where upon the completion, the build out of a plat, there's another step involved in which the local municipality formally recognizes the street. Because in the plat, it spells out that the streets for public use, right? And so by state law, it puts the presumption of municipal ownership of that publicly dedicated street to the municipality. I do have the law here somewhere in this matter, but so effectively 10 years after 2005, 2015-ish, it would have been presumed that the village owned the street, to take care of the street. But what happened, obviously, we all know this, that 2008, 2009, the housing market pretty much crashed, and there's no real progress with that plan as far as building. And I think this probably just got pushed to the wayside. There was no real housing activity, nothing really developing. I don't know the sequence of ownership of that plat, whether it went right from Mr. Whitley and Harrington Development, and then to you, or if there was a person in between. But either way, I think it probably just, even the village, I mean, everyone probably just sat back and, well, nothing's happening. And it's only a presumption. The law states it's just a presumption, which just means that after so much time goes by, it's just, we are to assume that it's now controlled by the village. And since we didn't have any subsequent resolutions, any formal act acknowledging the village's role to that street, it just kind of remained in a state of limbo. However, knowing what we know now, and with your intention to finish the build on this thing, current residents on the street, I think we are on safe ground to say that the village should control that street, is controlling that street, and in fact should get some money for that street. Public Act 51, right?
Yeah.
And I think it probably would work out for everyone. That's a sequence of events. That's how we got. I just think we had this, maybe hopefully once in a lifetime housing crash that everyone just didn't know, like, put it on the back.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a resolution for the next council meeting to formally recognize the acceptance of the plat,
Yes.
which would
Well, recognize the street.
recognize the street. So Tom, does that work for you, Tom?
Yeah, I'm just, it's stupid.
You know,
I've been snow plowing and stuff, so I appreciate you digging into that. It's so silly, I feel. But yeah, absolutely. I want that. So, I mean, I hope you guys will at least think through a little bit on next time too, but the water tap. I still think would be noteworthy in this case too, because I have been plowing it and all that. The thing that, this is a consideration too, but I've said this before. I said when we did the homework a couple, 3 years ago, we agreed to do one and did 1 or 2 the 2 I built. So, yeah, I don't want any money back from plowing or anything. It's just, it was brought up last time. I was thinking to myself, all right, I wonder if it's a normal neighborhood, right? Platted sub.
Well, to your
I don't develop.
point, maybe to soften the blow to the ego, it's only a presumption. So hypothetically, even at some point, even in beyond the 10 years, if the village had concerns and did not want to accept it and said, we do have a legal argument, if we wanted to push back on it and say, look, the law says it's presumed to be, however, we never took action. And I think we could probably put a legal argument together as to why we are not taking responsibility. But for the fact that so much time has gone by, judging from what I've seen out of the council, to presume is probably the better way to go. So,
I think that'd be great.
yeah,
And
and
I'd assist.
if it makes you feel any better, I share in your feelings towards the situation because, the council up here today, we're all newer than when that plat was formed, so we weren't around when that happened, and I think that probably even predates Brad. I think that plat may even predate Brad's involvement. So I think that the whole council is just, we didn't know either. So next meeting, the plan would be to formally recognize the street. And, I view it as a separate issue. We can now talk about the tap-ins, which Ryan, I have a question for you about, which is, underground, are those tap-ins to the main already made and now it's just a final connection?
Our line from the water main to the curb stop at all the lots is already there in the ground. So he builds a house, his workers, they dig, they find it, as we just talked about the last one. Yeah, because we don't have measurements for much of anything. There's a couple of them that are above ground that I was able to locate metal detecting. But as for the sewers, luckily the contractor that installed them, he did put boards on them. So as the excavator's digging down, he finds timber, follow that timber down and there's your pipe. If it means getting more homes built, now that, looking like we're gonna take over that street, I say we give them the discounted rate to get these homes built. The village involvement, I was there to inspect it after they made the connections. I assisted, in locating with what records we have of it. So village involvement, very minimal. We're not taking our equipment out. I'm not drilling the water mains. I'm not supplying any materials. So
So it's really just your time.
my time on the inspection, saying, good job, guys.
And it's, I guess my previous question is it's even less involved because it's not a, I guess for lack of a better term, a true tap in. Where you're banging on the main and tearing up the road. It's
Yep.
just,
These have already been tapped, lines ran, curb stops are there, stop boxes are there.
right.
I'm just making sure everything's being followed to, American Water Works standards, safe drinking water.
Okay. So I guess with the tap-in fee, is there a number? Or is that something that,
It's 7,500.
is that the request, Tom, is the 7,500?
That was the request. But like I mentioned, and I won't ever make nothing up. Mason, I called out, and they were $4,800, and they said they're gonna raise them in July 1, but she had no idea to what the next all was. And then DeWitt is 5,800. There's others that are higher, I'm sure, those are the two I billed in a lot. But that was the number we threw out there, which was more of a in the middle that the other members did on the other two I billed. So, I would be comfortable with that. It's a lot better than, it's 11 almost now, right? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just shy of 11, 10, 8 or something. That's a lot of money when you roll it around toward the rest, and I did buy this thing too. So,
Right.
if that was, like I said, I want the best for the community. I could see myself going there. So I'm not gonna say I'm gonna build there just to get a sales show going, but clean it up and make it look pretty out there. It's been sitting there forever. My carrying costs over 20 grand a year just in taxes, on each lot. But you guys will recoup, another each year, close to 6 on all these. If you do the math, and that's because your assessors are reasonable, because they know the millage rate and the village tax is kind of. So they just shut up and answer your question. Yeah, I'd be happy with that. I'd rather. And what's funny is that whole, the road that we Brad brought up last time, he and I've been amazed, very friendly guy. He said, we wonder why, when I turn this over, why wouldn't I? You know what I mean? We didn't know. I never thought, because I think they keep talking. Yeah, I would be comfortable with that. Seems fair, it gives you guys more than some of the bigger cities are doing. I'm sure there's some that are more, but 75 seems fair to me.
And Tom,
Go ahead.
remind me again, how many more plots are developable
20,
out on Black Oak Street?
yes. Well, there's a duplex lot on Grand River.
Okay.
You follow me? So you got it's literally number 2, I think. And then there's a perpendicular, that's a duplex lot. There used to be an old shed there that did the Ingham County drain tore down. They redid that drain back there.
Right.
So there's literally, I believe there's 20 with that. My
Okay.
intention is, I did sell the one, is to start another one right away, across the street. I thought it would be smart to have one back up to the Ingham County drain plan.
Okay,
Number 21 was what I had my eyes
so what does the council think?
on. Actually, this time.
What the council thinks.
I think that's more than fair. That's exactly what we were talking about last time. The road gets turned over or fixed, then we can go ahead and do the tapping fees. No problem.
So would this be 7,500 for the remaining properties or just as we go?
Let's just do it for the remaining properties.
My only reservation is that if it's further in time, if something happens. I mean, you just have a lot of lots here. I think we say go.
That's what I was
Personally,
thinking, as we go.
As we go.
Yeah, because, I mean, no offense, but if you decide to sell, the agreement is with you.
Yep.
So I
That's
think
another
as-
way to do it.
I think as we go is the smarter move.
And the price is set according to this now, so.
So do you need another discount to start building or?
Oh, I sure would like it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pure money, and again, I'm not here to do that. But I've been following that.
You know, I understand. I'm just
Yeah, that would help a bunch.
trying to understand if there's an immediate ask because you intend to immediately start developing another
Yes,
lot.
if there is an immediate ask, I would like to build that lot number 21 now.
Okay,
So that is an actuality, yes.
Do like four.
I assumed,
right.
He hasn't come back and, I mean, realistically, 2 years you should be able to do 4 houses, right?
pardon me?
2 years you'd be able to do
Oh
like.
gosh, I'm hoping to build it out in 2 years. I can't, I don't want to do this, keep dragging it out there.
Yep.
You know, the faster we can do it, the faster the road can be better done and then maintained from that too.
Right.
Dragging it out won't benefit anybody, especially one of the people living there, you know. Yeah, I mean, you guys were here to talk about, I mean, 4 would be great, whatever, you could do it where it's a time frame, a year or 2 years. You could do it where you have it in there, but it's for James Edward Builders Inc. I'm a S Corp, sole owner of it. Used to have a great business partner. Got out of it in 2008. He was the Edward part. So, it's just me.
Scott, would you be comfortable with framing it specifically for Tom's business and with a time frame of 12 months? So,
And then to be renegotiated. after.
Yeah,
Sell as many as I can.
his business.
That challenges me too.
his business application for a period of 12 months and a year from now, if you haven't built it out or if you need to do more, then we can talk.
Yeah, it could be the current owner of James Edward. I think I have him under Tom James Development, by the way. LLC, if you look him up.
Dan, I'm sorry, I believe you have a question.
Yeah, back on the meeting on February 27th, Tom came in asking for a reduction to $7,500 for the tax.
Yes,
That was granted, and according to what I have down here, that was passed for the fiscal year of 2024. Not just once, but for the entire fiscal year. Is that still true?
that's an excellent question. And I guess
Nobody remembered from that. We have,
That's why I think
including myself.
right.
Nobody wrote it down. I didn't write it down. You were there,
Yeah,
as we said.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
You did, thank you.
Yeah.
So what's our fiscal year though?
March.
And that was in February,
Yep.
So that would have been, our work would have been done already.
so.
Yeah, so our fiscal year ended in March, so that was made in February. That deal is expired.
Was that fiscal year 23 or fiscal year 24?
It was made in that would have been the 23-24 year. Right now, we're in the 24-25 year.
So which one do you go by?
Well, you're looking up the note to see, or the minutes to see what,
The minutes is this, with the estates, Tom James, recommended by President Hitchcock, so moved by Schulte, second by Walter, to approve Tom James with the estates on Black Oak, a discount for tap and fees for one house not to exceed $7,500.
I thought that was for the fiscal year.
That's what it said.
Oh, we just did that house. Ray and Michelle were put aside. So Brad said, come back and talk to through some more. I would really appreciate just like you saying that, keep coming back to try to do something that I think is still a middle win-win. It's not super.
Sorry?
The 24 months would be better, 2-year scale on it, so he can actually sell it. I mean, by the time he has to come buy it.
Yeah.
Get plans, yada, yada, he's probably 8 months out, I would guess, 8, 9 months out before he puts stuff in the ground. I mean, if he's selling, selling the property based on the discount, that puts him in an interesting scenario. But that's just my thought.
There ain't no
Building
discounts with building up.
So, how does the council feel about granting $7,500 tap-in fees for 24 months to Whitney Estates?
Whitney.
Whitney Estates. Recommend to the council that we approve tap-in fees at a reduced rate of $7,500 for Whitney Estates or for a period of, we'll say 23 months ending on the fiscal calendar year for 26, 27?
Yeah.
That would be 47 months, right? Right now, we're 24, 25, it'd be 25, 26.
Alright, so moved.
So moved by Sandra,
Second,
second by Lana. Roll call, please.
Stover,
Yes.
Canfield,
yes.
Walter,
Yeah.
Schulte.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to work something out.
You can invest to make it filled up. Got a lot of good plans. We got that one to show that office. Open up some of that when it's dry.
Yep, looks great so far. Okay. On the item number 4, lead and copper.
Right now, really no news. December, January sometime, timeframe around there, a lead service line replacement grant was applied for. After having multiple conversations with Eagle, just today, the grant application was withdrawn. The grant was not gonna cover our activities. The grant was for communities that had already started their minimum service line verifications and they're finding lead lines, and also have high suspicion of lead lines. We haven't started any of our minimum service line verification activities yet. So in their correspondence to us, they had some concerns about our activities. And then in my conversations that I've had with our district office regarding this grant, at no time in the past has this village ever indicated we had lead lines. We've never reported lead lines on yearly consumer confidence report. Our lead sampling has never indicated the presence of lead in our water system. So it was kind of advised to me that we don't take any funding for this. On its face, it was fundable, but once they dug into it, it was showing that no, it's not. If we had moved forward, addressed a whole list of concerns they had and accepted money, it was really gonna open us up for some audits and risking trouble down the road. If you're in bad standing with Eagle and grants, if you ever want to take a loan out, either through our revolving water fund or future grants, they look at all your past funding. So today, the grant was withdrawn. We had until Thursday of this week to answer all these questions. And I had a good conversation with the grant team this morning, so we are going to have to fund this on our own. Conversations with Caitlin, and the Quotes I've already received from hydro excavating companies. It's not gonna hurt us much. I mean, yeah, it's no fun paying $35,000 out of our fund, but the money's there, and it's something we have to do. 35,000 is nothing compared to having to repay a grant with fines, fees, the whole audit and stuff like that. So right now, we're kind of still in a holding pattern. I'm going to start putting together all of the quotes, bids, kind of a plan of action for the next meeting. That way we can get the ball rolling on our minimum service line verifications. So other than that, that's all we have on the lead.
So to clarify, this would be funded through our water fund,
Yes,
being a water line verification.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes me feel a little better.
I mean, every community in Michigan had to do it. Back 2018, 19, they had some grants available, some low interest and no interest loans were available. All those funds have been exhausted. This was to help with communities that are finding lead lines, because once you find them, since we haven't even started looking yet,
So will you have quotes for the next council meeting?
yes, they're sitting on my desk right now.
Approval?
Yep.
Yeah, 3 different.
I'm working on getting a third. That's
Okay.
proving to be very difficult right now, just because a lot of companies don't have the manpower to do it in our time frame. I will tell you the 2 I have. One is from El Chartier, which is a local company. They are half the price of another company that has to come out of Monroe, because we are paying mobilization fees every single day. We're paying their crew about 4 hours to just drive. So that adds up in a hurry. So the quote from Chartier, right now is a low bid by about half. So we'll discuss that next meeting when I bring the quotes, so.
And will part of that approval, or I guess, what's the plan for inspection? Because I know PEA threw their hat in for.
That's gonna be discussions we're gonna have to have as well.
Okay.
Whether we're gonna attempt to do it in-house, whatever. I have a form made up that most other communities are using as well. That I kind of hijacked just from people I know at other communities that are doing it.
Right.
Key is keep it simple, just because of all the data, don't overthink it. So I have a form made up already. Nothing has to be approved by Eagle on that form. It's just getting the information to myself to input into the spreadsheet that I then have to submit to Eagle.
Right.
Like I said, I have the form made up, just, kind of get the ball rolling on things so we can determine what.
Sure. And I guess the one thing I would have to add, is I know you and your guys are already loaded up.
Oh, yeah.
And, one of the nice things with PEA Group potentially stepping in there is just the fact that it removes some of the liability from the village.
Right.
So that's something to consider at the next meeting as well.
Yep. And then all in my rough draft. All our different possibilities.
So there's really nothing for us to approve
No.
tonight?
No.
I'd like to bring something up.
Sure.
I know that you said you are going to bring up something next meeting, but I understand that you said one of the concerns about bringing on someone else was it wasn't in the budget,
Mhm.
but it is in the budget to bring someone else on. We have, and a concern is, as you said, you need someone else. We don't have anyone else that's licensed. So if something happens to Ryan, well, we don't have anyone on the crew that holds the licenses that Ryan does. He goes on vacation, same thing. It's a concern.
And I hear your concerns, and I think they're valid. But ultimately, I'm gonna have to fall back to our employee handbook. This really falls on the shoulders of Brad as president, for all hiring decisions and finding candidates. So however Brad wants to pursue this is, like I said, I hear you. I think it's valid, but it's a little bit out of the council's hands at this stage.
Didn't you have somebody that,
Brad and I, just kind of, we're waiting to see how things fall with Eagle and our, what's gonna happen, you know, because
Yep.
as Scott knows, I mean, worst case scenario, we're facing a $25,000 a day fine. And how many days? I'm not sure. I can speculate 21 days because they can prove that. Are they gonna hit us with that? I can't speculate. I know Scott had the same conversations I've had with Laura. It's out of her hands right now. It's above her. So we're just kind of in a holding pattern. I mean, it's no fun, but that's where we're at right now. I know Brad does want to bring somebody else on. And it would help me immensely. But like Sam said, you know, right now we're just talking about lead and copper. But I do believe that that is an issue that we need to stay on, especially as we get closer and closer to October. Like I said, you know, I can't go on vacation right now. So,
or if he gets sick, so it's not, I know the concern, of course, the village, but the employees are also part of it.
but we might, you know, think about that on the next.
Well, the other consideration too is, just the timing is, yes, we have until October, but not only does that add to the plate of what we're doing, is then that adds to the plate of Ryan training somebody and getting him up to speed and, you know, depending on who that individual is and their capabilities, how quickly they get onboarded, that may compound the issue of not having enough time. So,
Never enough time in the day.
yeah, like I said, I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I think I'm just gonna leave this to Brad, and I know Ryan, you're already talking to him, so.
Yeah, we'll handle that.
So that, we'll move on to number 5, the CAT, the Capital Area Treasurer's Quarterly Meeting. Jessica, I believe this is yours.
Yeah, it's just the, you guys said you want me to bring it to each time it comes up. So this next one would be update from the county, 24 tax collection, online payment updates, delinquent person department. It's just like, BSNA issues and discussion, online fraud, phishing experiences. They're passed online, and we got this. Tammy got one when I was in class. And thank God she called me when she did, because it could have been bad. Any training opportunities too. So just kind of just all the treasurers and the county get together.
This is tomorrow,
Yeah, this is tomorrow.
and this is free?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Will this give you a certificate or anything like that, or it's just for knowledge?
It's just knowledge. Networking, as you call it.
Never have too much knowledge.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So do you need approval from the council on anything?
Just for the mileage, I think.
Mileage?
Yeah.
Oh, I always go off the other one. So. What is the motion here?
Motion to approve Jessica and to pay mileage.
May 29th. Second.
Second by Lana, roll call?
Hunter? Yes. Stanfield?
Yes.
Walter?
Yeah.
Schulte?
Yes. Look forward to hearing what you learned. Sorry?
The next one, American Legal Publishing.
Yep.
Do you remember when, we had to do it wrong 8 years?
Yep.
So this is just update for this last year. So their ordinance is online and they're gonna send us something. This is the high end cost, but wouldn't go above the $2,840. They do give us 10 supplements, and I can reduce that because we only have 3 ordinance books. So we don't really need all of those supplements. They just, that's what they did in the past. But
Okay. Yep, gotta stay current. Gotta do it more than every 8 years.
yes.
Motion to approve the S7 Selectmen supplement for the Code of Ordinance Book update not to exceed the amount of $2,840.
Second.
Roll call.
Schoenberg. Yes. Stanfield.
Yes,
Walter. Foley.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to the end of new business. I guess, real quick, we maybe ought to circle back to Black Oak real quick. I don't know if we want to have any further discussion about where that sits in the priority of paving projects. Because I think Bruce, you mentioned talking with Jessica and Caitlin sometime between now and the next meeting.
Yeah.
So I'll turn it back over to the council for thoughts on between Main Street, Greener and Black Oak. Black Oak is probably the most in need and the most affordable at this point.
That's exactly what Caitlin said today.
I mean, I don't want to,
We have, yeah, we can push that until 26.
yeah, so I think in the immediate, that's probably what we ought to pursue, if anything.
Yeah,
Main Street has to be, can be pushed back, you're saying, until 26.
Construction project, yeah.
And it won't like, so if you guys have to plow right now, you're gonna have.
Right now.
I'm saying, just pump it up.
This year,
Yes,
and I remember what you,
As it stands right now,
you can't plow that road like that, no.
it's gonna be very difficult, facing damage to equipment, damage to infrastructure. So,
and I do recall what was said, if it waits too much longer.
it's only getting
It's
worse
gonna
It's only getting worse, yeah.
and more expensive.
The one thing is, you're probably not gonna get the best prices, bidding something out in the middle of summer. Everybody's already got their work lined up. But we can look at it and see what we get and don't have to take the bids. We don't get good pricing on it.
well, we'll see what the bids are, but the potential of having a major road project by not doing it this year would probably be more expensive. So,
Especially once we start rolling our larger trucks down there plowing versus what he's been plowing.
Right.
as well.
I mean, you could almost make an argument that the way it is now, the best thing to do would be to take up the asphalt and put down, 2 courses. It is a little bit cracked, but I think an overlay is gonna extend the life of that pavement for at least maybe 10 years.
even with activity of potentially building out 20 houses in that time frame.
Yeah, I think my view is if you have a stronger road there, you're gonna be able to resist all those loads better.
Right.
And the drainage issue where, you've got an inch and a half of the pavement going up to an inch and a half of the curb, the drainage is not able to get into the gutter. So it just seeps into the crack between the curb and the pavement, and then that causes some problems that you've seen there too, right?
Nice little lake in front of my house.
Yeah.
That's why you have the boat, right?
And a kayak, I guess.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
To work.
I don't think there's any need for further discussion there. Josh, is there anything that we need answered from the live feed?
No.
Anything else before we adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn at 7:16 PM.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you for coming, everybody.